Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, Blender HD. If you want to follow me there on Twitter, and it's Casual Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. We made it. We made it to the end of the week, and we'll talk about NFL. We got NFL, MMA, soccer, anything going on, right? Anything that you want to know in the YouTube chat, I see you guys in there. Anthony Golden, Sterling Woods, Edward Brown, Eric Hilpold, Matt Mears, Suki Singh, Con Campbell, Real Life Pitcher, DFS and Life, Daniel Hutchins. Good morning. Give me those thumbs. First thing in the door, subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, hit the notification bell to know when we go live. There's a bunch of shows coming up today, tomorrow, Sunday morning for all NFL stuff, right? All NFL stuff. And get extra thumbs for anyone that played like Christian McCaffrey in 100% of your lineups yesterday. I didn't. I played him in 12 out of 15 and none of captain. So I was live. I didn't have enough Brandon Cooks. I only played 15 lineups. So no, I needed more from Terrence Marshall. I had a good lineup with Terrence Marshall and DJ Moore and the captain, Sam Darnold. But no Cooks in that lineup. I had Anthony Miller, right? Wasn't a bad lineup. It was live. I had some live lineups. But when C-Mac gets injured in the first quarter and he's 90-something% owned, you need some live lineups, right? He scored 6 points. At one point, Davis Mills wasn't even going to score that much, but then he got there. So if you there's no such thing as a lock, right? There's no such thing as a lock. So, oh my God, it's football. We've seen McCaffrey get injured, right? We've seen this happen before. I'm going to play him in 100% of the lineups. Well, I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to. Daniel Hutchins says he has 78% exposure. Did you have any in the captain, though? I don't know how I mean, the weird thing is that, you know, the one punt guy that I was talking about for 30 seconds on the pregame, on the pre-lock show yesterday was Tommy Tremble, right? I didn't play him in my 15 lineups. If I had played large field and played a whole bunch of, played 100 lineups, 150 lineups, I would have had some Tommy Tremble. He was on the preseason. He did well, right? So it's like, okay, maybe they'll give him a shot. And yeah, of course, he gets a rushing touchdown. He gets a 30-yard pass. So no, I didn't play any Tommy Tremble, but I mean, little pat on the head for at least mentioning him yesterday, right? Is that a call? Am I supposed to say, is that a take? I didn't mention anything other than, hey, he's down there and no one's going to have him. So he could do something, right? But that's what you're doing for the guys all the way at the bottom. They can do something. Something could happen, right? You never know. Let's see. But we got NFL coming up on Sunday. We got some ownership finally. Got MMA, a big pay-per-view tomorrow. There's a soccer slate tomorrow, 4-gamer. So kind of whatever you want to talk about. I know the past 2 days I've been showing how to build by lineups, right? I know for most of you that they're here every day. This is second nature to you. How do you not build by lineups yet? Right? How do you not build? How do you not build and go, okay, let me see what I can build. Let me look at the projection and let me look at the ownership and then decide between them. Right? So if I wanted to build lineups that had all this correlation, let's say I wanted all everything in the world, right? Right? I mean, maybe I don't have, let's see, just take this wide receiver tight end, do another wide receiver tight end with the running back, whatever. He said, I just want to build lineups that look like that. Let's just say. Right? And you build them in all your lineups, whatever. I don't even know if you can. Let's see where these lineups even go, if you could fit them in. Right? And then you could compare them. So if we do this, and then we, let's say, in the build rules, we make quarterback exposures to 20, which is the core part of where the stack is, right? We said quarterback max exposure to 20, right? We should get, it doesn't matter what the flex is. Get 100 lineups. What are the top 100 lineups that look like this? Let's say unique players one. Don't even have to bother. 49.5 floor, and there you go. Right? Just as a research tool. What does it currently look like? It's going to take a minute because the more stacks and more settings that you put in, it makes the generator go slower. So that'll take a minute or two. So I know we're going to get a ton of Rams. It's going to be Bucks Rams type of stuff. So if I set this on 100%, that's all I'd get, pretty much. I see what else in relation to these types of lineups. If I do like as much correlation as possible, I'm doing a 3+1 plus a secondary and a third even. I'm trying to jam that in. I'm not saying you should do that, right? But let's see what these lineups look like. Who knows? Let's see. Let's take a look. See. Oh, let's see. Well, that's going. Let's see. Yeah, this is gonna be slow. Feel free to post your questions in the YouTube chat. This will be a short show without your participation. There ain't much going on. I got my MMA sheet for tomorrow. This is just with the RotoGrinders. Ownership and projections that we currently have. I don't necessarily agree with some of it, but I mean, that'll change. And we don't have an inside. I don't even have a line for the Martin Sano guy, but I don't think it's going to matter anyway. So I think it's going to be very low regardless. If we take a look here, it looks like Semmelsberger compared to the owners, because most people are going to play Shevchenko up here. So if it's 33% versus 43%, Semmelsberger is probably the highest like leverage play from up there. I don't think anyone's playing Sano or anything. We got Jessica Andrade also. I mean, a lot of these guys. A lot of people are going to focus on Marab. They're going to play Marab. They're going to play Shevchenko. It's going to be like Shevchenko, Marab, Dawkins, maybe. And then they're going to play the 5-round fights. Volkanovski, Lawler, Diaz, which is a little bit more appealing because it's in the mid-range. Obviously, the way that my sheet works, it doesn't favor the 5-round fights, which is true. The 5-round fights are typically over-owned. But now on this slate, we got 3 5-round fights. So what we're going to see is that we're going to see a lot of people, a lot of lineups that are going to have a participant of all 3 5-round fights. And then we're going to see a lot of lineups participants with 2 of 3 5-round fights. We're not going to see that many that only have 1, and we're not going to see very little that have 0. Right? Ability to get leverage. I'm not saying that you should fade all the 5-round fights, but who knows? They may not be necessary. I think the Lawler Diaz one is the one that's more likely to be, only because it's of the price. Unless for some odd reason Lauren Murphy wins. But I can't, I mean, it's the largest favorite I've ever seen since I've been playing MMA in DFS. I think Nunes was also big in one of the, I don't know if I played that slate, but she's a 93% favorite with a 63% inside the distance. I mean, technically, based on these prices, like she should be 10,000. So like Shevchenko is like probably the most underpriced fighter on the slate, and it's a 5-round fight. So like it's hard for her not to get to 100 points. So either she gets there early and with a finish in the first round, or over the course of 5 rounds, she'll probably have, maybe 6 takedowns, control time, and do a whole bunch of stuff. So I understand. I mean, that she's the most expensive fighter on the slate. This is what I got so far. So I haven't aggregated anything. It looks like the underdogs that I'm looking at more are like Shamil Abdurakhimov. Chris Dawkins has had like 3 first-round finishes the past 3 fights. It's a heavyweight fight. I love the heavyweight fight. If you're going to take a shot, on an underdog, especially that's going to be low owned, if he's going to be 11% owned, I'm not sure about that. I'll take it on a heavyweight. Heavyweight fights are typically higher variance. Heavier punches, which means like one shot. I mean, the fight could turn easier in a heavyweight fight. The same thing with the Blades and Rosenstruck. Like if I'm gonna add variance to my lineup, it's probably going to be in a heavyweight fight. The only problem with heavyweight fights is that if they go to decision, typically they bust. Maybe not in the Curtis Blades case. He could have 8 takedowns. But like slow heavyweight fights, like either someone gets knocked out or the winner ends with like 60 points because it's just slower. They punch less. So heavyweight fights either tend to put up really big scores or they completely just, you get the winner, right? Which I don't have. If I take Rosenstruck and he wins a decision and he gives me 55 points down there for 7,000, okay, that isn't the end of the world. Let's see. Daniel Hutchings asks, how much of a factor is 5 rounds versus 3? Just 2 extra rounds to get more peripheral points. I mean, that's the reason why people play. It's 2 more rounds to get significant strikes, takedowns, control time. I mean, and the fighters that fight in a style that is conducive to DraftKings points, that's a positive. So like someone like not even see on this slate isn't because like Volkanovski and Ortega are pretty much strikers. Like someone like Curtis Blades, someone like Merab, for instance. If Merab is in a 5-round fight, like he's never won inside the distance. I don't think, but he's put up. I think in one 3-round fight, he put up 178 points with like 15 takedowns. So like imagine that over 5 rounds. That's 3 rounds. Imagine another 2 rounds of 3 takedowns per round. So like for those types of fighters, 5 rounds. You'd almost rather go to decision. We saw last week with Jackson, Montel Jackson, like he almost won in the first round. And it turns out he got more points at a decision because he ended up with like 4 takedowns and 2 knockdowns. And he had more time to amass more points. That's why typically you'll hear even on our ground and pound breakdown that H3 Buddha does here on RotoGrinders, like typically the fights that are fadeable, that are low scoring are the 2 striker versus striker. If it's going to be a stand-up striking affair for DraftKings scoring, typically the way that hits the ceiling is someone gets a knockout. But typically there's not enough striking. You know, in a 3-round fight, but even in a 5-round fight, those are more like a slower stand-up striking affair is more likely to bust. Meaning that it goes to decision and the winner still doesn't put up enough points that ends up being in the GPP winning line. But of course, it depends on the price. That's why I say this Lawler-Diaz fight is more likely than Volkanovski versus Ortega, which is still a little bit more, 8,600 versus 7,600. And then you have Shevchenko in a 5-round fight. She's the most expensive. So essentially, she has to be one of the top 6 scorers in order to be in the optimal. And if any other fighter, if she becomes 7th, like she can't possibly be in the optimal. So really with Shevchenko, it's not a matter of like style. It's a matter of how many. She puts up 96 points at 9,500. Will that be enough? You better hope there's a lot more decisions on the card. Which I mean, it's probably more likely than not that she puts up over 90 points. But I don't care. But I mean, she's so secure to be winning that I don't care that much. It's just what's a bust to her is 80 points. At the lower end, those aren't busts because we could have a slate where all the favorites win. And then like the highest scoring underdog is in the optimal lineup. But that's the only difference. The 5 rounds versus 3 rounds is the extra peripherals. But we saw, I mean, the 5-round fights that I typically don't have that much of are the slower ones. Like we had the one where I won. It was Cyril Gahn versus Derek Lewis. And it's like Derek Lewis throws like 3 punches around. Yeah, and if he connects with any of them, you could be dead. But it's slow. And Cyril Gahn is he's patient. He's a very smart fighter. He's unlikely to, move quickly. And especially with Derek Lewis, he's just going to stand on the outside and just, jab here, go there, whatever. He's the faster fighter, more technical fighter. So I looked at that fight and then go, okay, it's 5 rounds, and it goes 5 rounds. Like, how much can these guys score? That's why when I was sweating that fight, I'm like, I need Derek Lewis to score less than like 95 or Gahn less than 120. Like I was facing that. Like once the first round's gone, like I don't have to worry about Derek Lewis anymore. Right? Because even if he got a second round KO with a knockdown, that's 80 points. He's only thrown like 5 strikes. And Cyril Gahn was even more expensive, and he had to put up 120. It's like once the first 2 rounds go by, it's like, okay, he's never going to do it. He's not going to have 10 takedowns in a round. So I don't have to worry about that anymore. So those are typically the 5-round fights that, like, I could see Volkanovski versus Ortega not being in the optimal. Obviously, I could see Shevchenko not being in the optimal, just sheer that she doesn't put up, like, we get a bunch of finishes on the card, and she's sitting there with 95 points. And it's like, no, there's the 6 other 100-point scores. But maybe she could be optimal at 95 also. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen on the slate. That's why in that middle range, the Lawler-Diaz one, especially since we don't know what the hell's going. Nick Diaz hasn't won a fight in 8 years. So in this middle level with 2 guys that the pace of this fight is probably going to be really high, I think it's more likely that the winner of this fight, if it goes 5 rounds, is going to rack up points. Now that's all taken care that's why I put the projection. This is all taken care of in the projection already. It's weighted enough. Like if Brian Ortega wasn't 65, it'd be even lower. But I do it this way just because the correlation between ITD in round 1 versus 100-point scores is extremely high. The money line doesn't matter that much. And in a fight on a card with 13 fights, I care more about finishes. 10 fight card, I'll care more about the win odds then. Let's see. DJA Dog 3K. When playing soccer turbo slates, would you say it's plus EV to play the goalie and defenseman against the highest owned plays like you do in MLB showdowns, playing pitchers against the highest stack? Not necessarily. You still need to score points. Like if you're playing soccer, like for instance in soccer, the goalkeeping scoring has nothing to do with the scores of the games. Like you have to understand that. The goalkeeper that gives up 5 goals, like on this slate, we have a slate coming up, 4-game slate tomorrow for soccer. If Norwich gives up 5 goals, that keeper could have the highest score. No, what? Yeah, because it's primary saves. The Leicester keeper may have 0 saves, get the win in the clean sheet, and that's 10 points. Norwich's keeper can give up 4 goals and have 10 saves and end up with 12 points. Like, so it's not necessarily, Carl, the ceilings of the goalkeepers are not necessarily correlative to play the goalkeeper against the attacking team. Like that's not leverage. That's what a lot of people do. Now, are you likely to play attackers against your own goalkeeper? No. But it's not the type of thing in soccer where, everyone's like, for instance, on this slate, if everyone was playing Leicester, I'm going to play Pope, the Burnley goalkeeper. People are already doing that. Like, you're not getting any leverage against them. Like, other people are already doing that. It's not related to one another. It's not like hockey. But hockey, same thing. You're getting points for saves. Soccer is the same way. Don't worry about the win of the clean sheet. The lower price goalkeepers could get there just as much, even giving up a goal. So if you were to play a Burnley lineup, right? We go down here. Where's the goalkeeper? Right, we played Nick Pope. And you play a defender with him, right? Ben Mee or something, whatever they want. Like that, you're not getting leverage. I mean, Pope is going to be owned. Like you're getting some correlation between me and Pope, and you play Ashley Westwood or something for the set piece goal. But I mean, this is how you would play any other team. But you're not getting leverage off of VAR. Like if Vardy, who's a Leicester forward, was owned. Vardy's 40% owned. Like you're not getting leverage. You're not. Pope is already going to be 30% owned. Like the goalkeeper against Vardy is already going to be owned. You're not doing much. Let's say this game is 3-1 and Vardy scores twice. And Pope could still be the highest scoring goalkeeper. Then you get a piece of the goal on the other side. Like you don't have to think that way in soccer with the goalkeeper position. If anything, you're playing the underdog forwards as leverage, right? Everyone's playing Leicester. Let's just say, right? The leverage is playing Dwight McNeil, playing a 2-man, Ashley Barnes. Is he going to start tomorrow? I don't know. Right? You look up here, you play Chris Wood. Right? Vardy's going to be 40% owned. Like the guy, you play Wood and Barnes together on the other side. You play for a Burnley win. Like that would be leverage. So more people are playing for the Leicester goals than for the Burnley goals. But the scoring for goalkeeper is so variant and dependent on saves that, Man United, I'm going to play Ronaldo, and everyone's playing Ronaldo. I'm going to play the goalkeeper against him. And then you're going to find that the goalkeeper against him is also 27% up. Many people are playing that goalkeeper in lineups where they don't have Ronaldo. It's already going to be on. Some people will play Ronaldo and the goalkeeper against him because he shoots 700 times. And that ends up being the winning lineup. So no, like the goalkeepers are not where you get leverage. It's very similar, I guess, to baseball, where you really what's the top stack? Let me play the pitcher against them. It's like you don't get as much leverage as you think against that. You'd rather stack against a pitcher than play a pitcher against, a 20% owned stack. A nice $20 EPL slate on DraftKings. How does the smaller slate affect strategy? It's not a small slate. It's a 4-game slate. How large do you think soccer slates normally are? I'm used to playing 2 and 3 game slates. 4-game slates seems pretty good to me. MJC Jordan, does the building lineups not picking players pertain to NBA DFS? Yes, it pertains to all of DFS. Still got to be some correlation in NBA. Now, actually, NBA has the least amount of correlation. So yes, but all lineups, not players, exist for everything, for literally everything in DFS. Max Coach says, so goalies like defense in football, just punt it. A lot of times, yes. A lot of times the goalkeeper position in my GPP lineups are whatever fits. And a lot of times you're pairing it up with a defender because the defender and the goalkeeper, defender gets 3 points for a clean sheet bonus. So what my lineups look like most of the time are a goalkeeper defense. Like I'm trying to basically stack 2 games. Stacking doesn't mean taking 6 guys from a game. The games aren't that high scoring, right? But like in this 4-game, like if I was going to okay, I'm going to play Watford, for instance, right? So I go to Watford, let's say, right? I'm going to play for Watford to win, and keep a clean sheet, right? So I'm going to go, where's their goalkeeper? So I'm going to play Ben Foster, right? I'm going to pair up with the defender, right? Danny Rose, right? Play Josh King up top. I'll probably have money for Sarr. Or play Emmanuel Dennis, right? Play them, something like that. So a Watford, kind of like a Watford stack. Doesn't have to be 4 guys. It could be 2 guys. It could be whatever guys. Right? So I'm basically playing for a Rose assist to King and Dennis, that type of thing. Then I'm combining that with maybe West Ham, right? I'm playing maybe Michael Antonio, and maybe a defender, Cresswell, right? Cresswell and Antonio. Maybe I play Suchek or something, the cheap guy in the middle. Now I have 10-1 left. And who could I play? I could play Sarr in this lineup, actually. Let me take out Dennis, and I'll play Ismaili Sarr. Now I have 7,000 left. And I play some one-off or something. Because you have to play at least 3 teams. 7,400. Who could I put there? Ayoze, whatever. Who cares? Right, in a one-off or something. And there you go. So I'm playing for a West Ham. I'm playing for the West Ham goals. I'm playing for the Watford goals and a one-off. And obviously, I could play, instead of playing Foster, since I'm playing a West Ham defender, I could play Fabianski instead. I could, correlate it like that. And I have what, $7,200 left for my one-off. I could just throw in, well, Bamford's going to be out. Solomon Rondon. I could play Solomon Rondon instead. We could do something, whatever. I mean, but you see how the construction goes. Do you have to play Suchek? Do you have to play 3 guys? No, there's no such thing as you got to play 3, you got to play 4. There's no size. Just saying, but I'm trying to get less things right. I want a team to score 2 or 3 goals in the game and me to get all the goals and assists in them. And if it's a defender, get crosses and assists and have a clean sheet as well as the goalkeeper. Like something like that. But there's also instances where you're not playing that type of thing. I think the West Ham Leeds game this weekend is more of a game where it could be 3-3. So maybe I don't play a defender in this game at all. I mean, you could. So you do something like this. I mean, you go West Ham Leeds, you can go, okay, I'm going to play Antonio. I'm going to play Rafinha. I'm going to play Bowen. And you can, kind of like 2-2 it. Rafinha, you play Mateus Click, midfield spot, and you do something like this. You go, okay, I think West Ham and Leeds goes up. Maybe you play Rodrigo in the utility spot. So you kind of stacking this, and now you got DDD, DDK. Now you want to do a defensive stack typically. So it's like, okay, so I'm stacking this game a little, right? Taking like 5 guys from that game, 3 on one side, 2 on the other. Now I got 2 defender slots and a goalkeeper. I want to correlate that. I want to have a defensive stack there. So maybe it's Watford. I don't know what fits. Foster. Probably a center back. Probably need a center back. Cathcart. And 4,200 left. Whatever. Something like that. Yeah, that's a GBB lineup. You can make whatever organizations that you want of it. Now, can you just play one-offs of stuff? Yeah, of course you can. But of course, if one guy scores a goal, you want like the assist if it's available, right? Not every goal has an assist. And I think it's much easier to bet on teams than it is to bet on just individual players. So it's like, okay, what 2 teams do I want in this lineup? Doesn't mean all your spots have to fill there. Just it could be 2 and 2. Just like, but once I put a forward in, right? Once I put who's going to be? Let's see who's playing. Once I put Saeed Ben Rama in, I'm going, okay, he's going to score a goal. Who's going to assist him? Maybe Jared Bowen. Okay, so I got that. It's like, well, am I going to play any Leeds players that also score? Yes or no? If not, then maybe I play another West Ham defender and then a goalkeeper or something. Because if these 2 guys score, it's more likely that West Ham wins. So that's all you're doing. You can pick whatever team you want to do it with. Obviously, the more contrarian would be the underdogs. The heavier underdogs, playing 3 guys from heavier underdogs is very contrarian. But you got plenty of guys on the team that you can build any types of lineups you want. You don't have to play Leicester with Jamie Vardy up top. Other people could score. Let's see. Andrew Sullivan, you mean to tell me that PSFs, I don't know what that is. What's PSFs? Goalie versus forward matchup sheet doesn't matter. I don't know what that is. So I wouldn't know. Probably doesn't. Edgar Chavez, you ever play LOL DFS? No. I know it's probably quite, I know you're probably doing the same thing. You stack them 2 teams. Okay, let's see. We got our 100 lineups. We finally got them with the maximum correlation that we could get. So we're still getting tons of this Bucks Rams game, right? So even cutting it down to 20%, it's basically maxing out Brady, maxing out Stafford, maxing out Herbert. Then we got some Lamar teams. Lamar with using Swift as the bring back, Hawkinson as the bring back, Swift, Cephas. Okay, so that they're there. That's mixed in. That's an idea that I had, right? Use DeAndre Swift in there. And you could still use a Woods and Godwin one, a secondary here. Lamar, Brown, Andrews, Godwin, and Woods, right? Because you're probably going to still get a ton of, right? Cup, like every lineup's going to have like a Ram in it, right? Cup, Woods, Cup. Oh, this one doesn't. This one doesn't. Has Ridley, Darius Slayton. Okay. These are the types of lineups that I'd be looking at, right? You're looking at 3+1s. Like this is the most correlative lineups that you can make. So there's Lamar Jackson and 2 pass catchers. So you got Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews. And some type of run back, DeAndre Swift. Then we have 2 secondary correlations. Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the Chiefs, Keenan Allen. So they're on opposite sides of the game. And then you got Godwin and Woods who are on opposite sides of the game. Done. Your entire lineup. Then you got whatever defense fits. Whatever fits. We got Jared Goff lineups. Goff, Cephas, Hawkinson with Marquise Brown. Okay, that makes sense. Got Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, Conklin with Chris Carson as the run back. Then we got Godwin, Cup, which we'll see all the time, and CEH and Allen in the Titans defense. Getting at a lot of these. What do the Brady stacks look like? Scotty Miller. Ooh, Scotty Miller. Scotty doesn't know. Is it all Scotty Miller? Does the projection just happen to go up, or are we just trying to jam in 2 guys? Okay, here's a Gronk lineup. There's another Scotty Miller. Godwin Evans lineup. I think I'm more interested in this. Right, and you got Will Dissly and Dalvin Cook across from each other. Still got the CEH Allen in the Titans defense. Godwin Gronkowski with KJ Osborne. You still got Cooper. You still got Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee. But here's one that doesn't have Kupp or Woods. So you have Brady plus Evans plus Godwin. Higbee run back. CEH and Jared Cook. Then you have Dalvin Cook and DK Metcalf. Titans defense by itself. So it's the cheapest defense that has the best point per dollar value in our projections. But you could judge all these lineups. I mean, like if I take out the Brady lineups, right? We could do the exercise we did yesterday, right? By going through and saying, okay, if this is accurate ownership, you probably should, unless you're diversifying, you probably shouldn't be playing a lineup that is less projected and higher owned. So going through these 100 lineups, maybe this is 103.9, this is 107.4. Like what? I'm sacrificing 2 points in no, barely anything in projection, but I'm actually getting more ownership. So I don't want it. 104.3. So I need to beat 103.9. 103.1. Okay. Let's see if we beat 103.1. 103.1. So we just delete these lineups. 103.1. 101.6. Okay, we got a winner. Let's go down. We have to beat 101.6. 101.4. Okay. But look how much we're sacrificing for barely anything. I mean, take a look at these 2 lineups. Remember, lineups, not players. 101.6, 101.4 is the ownership. But it's a 1 point difference. It's a nearly 0.98. Sorry. So if you had a choice between these 2 lineups, like I'd rather play the higher projected one. Even if it's slightly more owned. Is a point worth that little amount of ownership? It isn't to me. Right? This is Stafford, a Stafford stack. I mean, it's not about the players. Who cares? I don't want to play Tyson Williams. Well, who cares? Then change his number. If you don't want him to come up, then make him only be worth 2 points. But if you believe in, if you trust your model, then that's what it is. But here, well, like that barely beats it. So 99.5. Okay, now at least we're getting a little bit more. 99.5. Let's see if we can beat 99.5. 98.4. Okay, 98.3. The fever's coming down. 96.6. 96.5. What are these two lines? These two lines are practically the same. 96.5. Now we got to beat 96.5. I hope you understand what I'm doing here. It's like, why would you play a lineup that's projected for a half a point less for 8 more points in ownership? Like, why would you? Like, if you do this in order to pick lineups. I only want to play 10 of these lineups. Okay. So I build more, build 300, and then pick from the 10. Pick 10 from that, from the types of lineups that you want to play. So I'm going through. I was going like, why would I play a lineup that has a higher projection and that's a lower projection but higher ownership? So I'm going to remove those lineups. So 87. So I'm just cutting out all these lineups that are like if this lineup, if all these lineups that I'm cutting out project worse and are owned more. So in concept, they're less. I'd rather play the lineup that's above it than that one. So it's 93.9. So I'm giving up half a point, but I'm gaining ownership. So why do I want that? So I need to beat 87. That's up here. Any lineup that I'm Xing out is going to be worse. Look, this lineup is more owned and lower projected. I'm just reiterating. This is the line. This is lineups, not players. It's reiterating the fact. 88.7. No, we need something lower than this first lineup. That'll justify why the projection should be lower. 84.9. Okay. At least it's lower. Is it worth the 1.5 points? I don't know, but at least it's lower. So now we have to beat 84.9. Oh, yeah. Okay, I missed it. There was a 77 one, and I got rid of it. Oh, well. So we need to find something that beats 77. Okay, there's 71. 71. Can we beat 71? I'm not sure if we can. Let's see. Keep on going. 76, 82, 92, 77, 69. You got a 69. We're giving up 3 points for that. Is it worth it? Probably not. I mean, take a look at this, right? So you got a 140.7 and this is 137.3. So you're giving up like almost 3.5 points in projection. But how much owner? You're not really gaining. I mean, what? For 2 percentage points in ownership? It's probably not worth it. It is lower, yes, but is it worth that amount? Probably not. I'm judging it that it's probably not. So I'd still rather play. If I had a choice between the two lineups, I'd still rather play the slightly higher owned lineup, but because I'm gaining 3.5 points in projection. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of everything below. Delete all lineups below. There you go. And there. So now we got a whole bunch of lines. So we got 11 lineups. And like you want to play like 5, right? So it's like, what do we got here? Quarterback wise, we got Lamar Jackson, Herbert, Stafford, Brady. Okay. Let's say you're playing 3 max. We'll make it easy. Right? You've already done all of this. And you're like, I'm going to look through lineups, and you see all this. You look, you got CHs in, most of them, except for one. Which one is CH not in? Let's take a look at that lineup. Maybe, do you want to have like CH in all 3 lineups? Maybe you don't. So here's one. Here's the lowest one. Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown Andrews with Quintus Cephas. Then you got Kamara with Jacoby Myers, Leonard Fournette, and Cooper Kupp. This isn't like a bad lineup or anything. I mean, it projects low. 140. The top one is 148. So if you wanted to play a contrarian lineup, I mean, you could do this in single entry 3 max or something if you wanted to. right? But if you only had to choose out of these 11 lineups, you're going to be playing like 100%. All three lineups are going to have CEH in it, right? Probably all three lineups are going to have Cooper Kupp in it, right? If you don't want that, then you go through that exercise and you make sure to go through the non-Cooper Kupp lineups and see what they look like. So you do the same type of exercise. Now you're doing it for diversification. You know that that the non-Cooper Kupp lineups may be slightly worse than the Kupp lineups. But since you're playing 20 lineups, you don't want to have 20 Cooper Kupp lineups. You don't mind sacrificing a little bit of EV just to have more diversification. In this instance, I'm just filtering out to play 3 lineups, right? So maybe you don't mind, right? By having Cooper Kupp in all your lineups. So maybe we don't play this 49-7 lineup down here. Or maybe we do. Is it worth the ownership? This would be very, very contrarian. And then you go through and you see what you want. Do you want Scotty Miller lineups? Right? Do you want any? You're playing 3 max. So maybe Tom Brady, Cooper Kupp, Scotty Miller. Because if Antonio Brown's not going to play, then Scotty Miller's going to come into some regard, right? Do you want him as a one-off? Maybe not. Right? Do you want Scotty Miller as a one-off here? Scotty Miller and Cooper Kupp on the other end. But you have a Herbert stack with the CEH. I'm not a big fan of that. Okay. So I don't want Scotty Miller as a one-off. So that's something that you could have put in, obviously, before you built the lineups of like Scotty Miller. If Scotty Miller, you need Tom Brady in the lineup. So you use groups for that. So maybe you get rid of those lineups. Okay. So now you're going to go through some more. Right. I need 3 lineups. Right. Do I want to get chalky by playing a Stafford lineup? If we take a look at this first lineup up here, Stafford, Woods, Kupp, Godwin. This is kind of a chalky lineup. This is another chalky line. Do we want to play the Stafford double stacks? Maybe we don't. We don't mind them as a one-off, but don't play the Stafford double stacks. Maybe you make that strategic decision. Who knows? So I'm going to get rid of the Stafford lineups. Now we're left with 6 lineups. All right, we got Brady, Lamar. You got a Herbert lineup. So maybe you want to play that. Maybe you want to play the Herbert lineup. Herbert, CH, Allen, Cook, Godwin. You got Kamara, Aguilar. That's a weird combination. But look, it projects well. Look, 146.15. Actually projects decently well. Even with that's different. So maybe you play that lineup. Maybe you want to play one of each, right? A Lamar lineup, a Brady lineup. So like, which one of the 2 Brady lineups do we play? So we see here, the difference is 1.5, 145.65. Like, yeah, these lineups are virtually the same. It wouldn't matter. Basically, do you want to play Lockett or Metcalf? That's what it looks like, right? I think so. No, I think that's exactly what it is. It's literally a 1v1. Is Lockett in any of the other lineups that we have? Or just one of each? Yeah. Is everyone going to chase Lockett again? Or is he going to get there again? Right? So maybe you do whichever one you want. Lockett, Metcalf, doesn't matter. We're going to get the Metcalf one. Then we choose a Lamar lineup. Which lineup do we want? Do we want Swift? Do we want Hawkinson? Double tight end? Jacoby. Okay, we've already said we already have Kamara in another lineup, so I'm going to remove that one. And maybe whichever one seems fine. All right, this is 143.95 at 87. This is 142.3. So it's a 1.6 projection point difference, but you're only dropping like only 2% ownership. So yeah, I just play the first one then. There you go. There's your 3 lineups. Yeah, you're done. You picked the 3 lineups. Throw them in the 3 max. Assuming you want all this correlation. Like I said, this is once you go through what types of lineups you want to build. And now all you're doing is comparing them to one another. And would I have known beforehand that I'm going to be playing Scotty Miller in a lineup? No. But if the projection works out and the ownership works out, if the numbers work out, it's lineups, not players. Ruben C., what process do you go through or did you go through to decide what percentage to put on stack settings on any given NFL week? By the lineups that come out. I'm literally going through exactly what I'd be doing. Ace Boogie, I know how you talk about not playing two pass catchers with Kyler. No, you could play two pass catchers. I never said you can't play two pass catchers with Kyler because of his rushing. Is that okay with Lamar? Yes, you could play four pass catchers with Lamar. I don't know what we're talking about. Remember, you're building lineups. You're not picking players. Can Kyler plus 5 wide receivers? Let's say you play Kyler and you play him with six other players in the lineup. Can you do that? I don't even know. If the Cardinals score 96 points, then you're probably good. You're fine. There's a percentage of the time that happens. Okay? Kyler with a cheaper guy, if he's going to rush the ball in, it more negatively affect you. If you play Hopkins at 8,200, you're looking for him to hit a ceiling, 30 plus points, which means you'd rather the touchdowns go to Hopkins from Murray than Murray rush them in. Now, if you play the cheaper guy, you play a 3K guy, you play AJ Green. He doesn't need it. How many touchdowns and yards does AJ Green need to make value at 20 points at 4,700 or whatever the price is? Much less. So it's more likely you have to use these terminology. If you're not going to use the terminology, you're never going to play DFS well. Can you play Lamar with two pass catches? Of course you can. He could throw 5 touchdowns. How often is that more or less likely to happen with a rushing quarterback? It's going to be less likely. Doesn't mean it's not at all going to happen, but it's less likely. The correlation between a rushing quarterback and his receivers are smaller. They're correlated, but not as heavily correlated as Tom Brady is to Chris Godwin. Because Tom Brady is rarely going to steal Chris Godwin's touchdowns. It's more likely that Godwin's touchdowns get stolen by Evans than by Brady. Right? If you're going to play Ben Roethlisberger, highly correlated to the receivers, more so than Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. So does that mean it never happens? No, we never think in terms of 0 or 100%. Is it okay? It's okay. It depends on the lineup. In these fields with 100,000 entries, are you more likely to only play one pass catcher with your quarterback since you need like 99th percentile outcomes? Yes. In the millie, I'm much more likely to play skinny stacks. Quarterback plus pass catcher plus a guy on the other side of the game. And then when I stack, it's more likely to be with like a cheap tight end or something. And that's not because of lack of correlation. It's because you have to beat out 200,000 people, and most likely the winning lineup is going to be closer to the nuts. So it's more of a closer to the nuts thing, not a like, oh, you need to add correlation, add variance. That there's going to be some one-off receiver from this game and that game and this game that puts up 30 points, and it's more likely to be in someone's lineup out of 200,000 entries than it is to be in someone's lineup out of 800 entries. So you don't have to worry about being perfect in smaller field stuff as you do in larger field stuff. Mr. Shadow Dog 13, the optimizer won't give me any lineups over 200 points. Why should it? I don't even understand what that question is. I don't even know what that means. You realize projections are median outcomes. This is not how many points they will score. Matthew P, have been doing for cash games for NFL? It's only been 2 weeks. I lost the first week. I won last week. I use RotoTracker to track my cash. Ruben C. Okay, here we go. Here we go with questions. Remember, if you could answer the question, I'm going to repeat this 1,000,000 times until you get it. Until you get it. If you could be answered by yes or no or an exact number, it is a stupid question. And if you don't understand why it's stupid, That's the thing you need to get. That's the, if you go, oh yeah, this could be answered by an exact number. And then instead of going, hey, Jordan's an asshole, maybe you could figure out why. How do you decide how much point to percentage drop off you want in 3 max versus max entry? However way that you decide, depending on the exact slate and the exact lineups that you play. Now, if I were to explain to you exactly how you would do it, it would take me about 400 years. Okay? There's no, if you're thinking that there's a formula, you know what I went through? The concept, understand the concept. The lower the projection, you have to get more ownership with it. Is it worth, if I have 2 lineups in NFL, one projects for 700 billion points, the next one projects for 1 point, and the difference in ownership is this much. Which lineup should you play? Obviously the top one. But the lower one is lower owned, yes, but you're giving up 700 billion points. Probably, that's probably too much. And I'm saying the word probably because I don't know if that's too much. Certain slates, it's going to be different. Is there a formula for it? No, there isn't. If let's say, for instance, I'm going to do this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of the build rules. Let's get rid of all of this. Because I've literally answered this question like 747 times. And people obviously don't watch the show or just repeat the same thing over and over, and they're just going to continue to lose. So I'm going to take this all off, get all the stacks off, everything off. Let's delete all of this. Delete all of this. Okay, so we could play any lineup we want. It doesn't matter what it is. All right, do I got the build rules? It doesn't matter. It's all the stuff is here. Got 20 lineups. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to build 20 lineups. They're going to essentially be cash lineups with these projections. Okay. Well, I got to put something in. Okay. So I'm going to build 20, just 20. Okay. If you were going to play cash, where are we going? Where we go? 152. I'm missing something here. Where are we going? Unique players 1, salary 4. Okay, now I gotta uncheck that. Oh, let me run this again. Make sure everything is off. I should be getting a Lamar Jackson lineup first. Yes, there we go. Okay. Okay. So if you're using the projections, this would be the cash lineup. This is what you would play. This is the highest projected lineup from a median perspective. It is owned at 114.10. This one's owned slightly more. That's Justin Fields in it. But we don't worry. Remember, we don't worry about the players. All we're looking at is lineups. So if we look down here, it's like, well, this lineup is 0.25 lower projected, but higher owned. So that makes sense. That why would you want to play that line in a GPP setting? Why would you want to play this lineup when this lineup projects better and is higher owned? That's the concept. Don't worry about exact numbers. You have to get that concept first. So we're going to eliminate that. Now this lineup right here, it drops 0.35, it looks like, yeah. And about less than like 0.7% in ownership. Is that little drop worth that little ownership? I don't know. It could be. It could be worth it. It probably is. These lineups are probably almost nearly identical to each other. Right? But this one has KJ Osborne, and that one, I don't care. Remember, we're not looking at the players. Then you go down further. 108. Okay, this seems pretty good, right? If I had a choice between playing these two lineups, like I'm dropping even more in ownership, but like I'm giving up almost nothing in projection. Then I'm looking at this lineup up here, 114, 152.99. Like it feels like if I could give up this much and get to 108, I prefer this lineup in a GPP setting. This is not regarding correlation or anything. This one's 117.6. So you throw this out immediately. This is 113.6. Like, unless you could beat out 108.9, because we're trying to find the one lineup to play. Okay. We're not even choosing multiple lineups. Okay. Is this worth this little, right? This amount, I don't know. This is 110. So we could just throw these out. 107, 108.7, 120, 114.8. We have better lineups above it. 117. We have to beat 108.5. Okay, get rid of this. Get rid of this. 104.1. We got a 104.1. Okay. So now we got some lineups here that we can compare to. So here's the top. Here's the lineup up here. 152.26. Here's this one, 151.2. That's a 1 point difference in projection. You're dropping about 4 percentage points in ownership. Is that worth it? The answer is, I don't know. The answer, do you think it's worth it? Well, if it's worth it here, maybe it's worth it up here. 189.08.9, 108.5. These two lineups are practically equal. So if you're going to play this lineup, then you're never going to play either of these two lineups. If you're going to, if you believe it's worth paying, having this low projection, the top projection is like 153. So this is a cash lineup. You probably wouldn't even play this at all because you'd see it in the lineups, in the contest too much. So you go here. So 152.99, and you want to play a lineup that's 151.2. So it's like almost 2 points in projection, and you're dropping about 10 percentage points in ownership. To play the next most line, like any other lineup in between these is going to be higher owned and not enough projected higher either. So maybe you play that. So you play this. The difference between this is 1.7. The difference between this and this is 10 percentage points. Now, would I be able to tell you this before doing this? No. Would there be other lineups? There could be a lineup that's under 151. Maybe there's a lineup that's 151.1 that's owned at 70%. There probably isn't, but I'm just saying. And you go, wow, I could drop another 34 percentage points in ownership and barely give up any projection. Hell yeah, give me that lineup. Well, find it. Does that lineup exist? So you have to run lineups. You have to run and see what it is. Okay, so now in this case, I'm doing this for a reason. So this is with the actual projections. Now let's say I'm going to make up just to show you why it matters on the slate. We're gonna raise CEH's projection and make CEH median 50 points. And I'm doing it on purpose, so it's an exaggeration. Okay? So with his median at 50, if we build 10 lineups, he's going to show up in all 10 of them, right? Optimally. Okay? So now you're going to see these, every lineup's going to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So obviously he's a 50-point median for 4,800, right? So how much ownership is worth the projection now? Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Clyde Edwards-Helaire and build only 50% of lineups with it. Let's build 20 lineups. Okay? So I'm just telling them I only want CEH in half of my lineups. Now I guarantee you that we're sorting by fantasy points, by the median. That if we're building 20, the top 10 will have CEH, right? Here's CEH, here's CEH, here's CEH, right? So this top CEH lineup, we're gonna get rid of all the other ones till we get to one, because we're looking down here, 114, 113, 108. Because the ownership still stays the same at 12, right? Obviously, if he had a 50-point median, he'd probably be more owned than 12% owned. But we'll see there, okay? So we're going to go to the first lineup that does not have CEH in it, okay? So the next best lineup, if you don't include CEH, you go down from 187.81 down to 151.89 and actually have higher ownership. Right? So we're going to get rid of that. This lineup is even hot. Like if we found a lineup that was, okay, here's 108.9. Here's one. So let's move this one up. Okay, so these two lineups. Well, this is lower owned. I should play the lower owned lineup. Are you willing to sacrifice like 40 points in projection? No. You probably shouldn't for only that much. If you're going to sacrifice 40 points in projection, you better have like 10% total ownership or something. Do I know the exact number? No. But because there is a guy on this slate that is so over projected, and most likely also going to be 70% owned or something, that the more of those types of players, the more the player pricing is inefficient, the less likely that you should be sacrificing projection points for ownership. That you need more ownership discount than you do. Like I said here, if you don't play Clyde Edwards-Helaire at a 50-point median at 12% ownership, like, can you get any other, is there any other lineup worth playing that doesn't have CH in it? No, you probably should play him in 100% of your lineups. It would probably be optimal to jam him literally everywhere because you're not getting enough ownership discount to not play at 12% ownership. If we put him at 70% ownership, like what he probably would be, let's see, the ownership will probably be 80% owned or something. I mean, it'd be high, 80% owned. And we did the same thing, just 10 lineups. All right, so we go to the first CH lineup and we go to the first non-CH lineup. Okay. So now, okay, you're dropping a lot more ownership now, right? Because obviously we put in that CH is going to be 80% owned at a 50-point median. So now you're sacrificing 36 points of projection for what looks like 65 projection ownership. Should you be doing that? Well, that's the only way if you don't play Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's the only way you could drop that far is by not playing CH in the projection ones. So is it worth it? That's the best you could do. This lineup right here at 151.89 and 116% ownership is the best you could do by not playing CH. So any lineup that's worse than this, you probably shouldn't be playing at all. But can you build lineups that have 116% ownership that also have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in it? Right? It's because he's 80% owned. So you want to see, can I build a lineup with 116? Well, let's see. I don't even know. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go 110 to 120, right? I'm just going to put it in. Let's see if we can build a lineup that has CH in it, right? 110 to 120. I'm going to lock in CH. I'm going to take out, we don't need that. See if we can build 5 lineups. Who cares? It's probably going to be all like 1% owned players, right? Okay, so you got Jonathan Taylor, Darnell Mooney, right? Obviously, we don't have like correlation or anything in here. So we were able to. So like in this build that we just did, it's like 116% ownership, 151 projection. And that's without over projected CH, super CH. So we were able to actually find a lineup that similarly owned 119, but look how high projected that is. 174.75 versus 151.89. So like based on this, it's like you could find people will go, well, I'm going to fade 80% owned Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Well, optimally, you probably shouldn't, you don't need to. Optimally, you probably should be in every one of your lineups. Because you could find lineups that project higher that are similarly owned, even without CEH in it. And look, I proved it. I've built them. They're right here. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. So how many points are you willing to give up for X amount of ownership? It can only be answered by building lineups and then judging it for yourself. And then if you don't want to do that, then you have to simulate everything. And then you have to give it over to some algorithm to decide. And even then it's not to really decide. So you have to judge that for yourself. Is it worth this amount of points for this amount of ownership? A lot of times the answer is most of these lineups are equal or close to as equal to each other as possible. Like these lineups that I just built with the over projected CEH. Like I built 5 lineups with no correlation, no nothing. Look, 174.75, 119. Look at this one. 174, 118. 174, 119. 174, 118. 174, 190. Like they're all the same. Just cover the names. If you like one lineup, you might as well play any of these lineups. I could probably build 100 lineups like this that fit within those parameters, that have CEH and fit within that ownership, and give you around 170 to 174 points. Hundreds. You could probably build hundreds upon hundreds. And then you have to choose which 150 do you want to play. And there you go. Or whatever amount, 20 you want to play. If you find the range in which, like, okay, this is enough. I'm giving up enough. I'm getting enough ownership and sacrificing not as much projection. Then you just want to jam as many lineups that fit that parameter as possible. From an EV perspective, the diversification wise, yeah, you may not want all the lineups to look exactly the same or close, the 1v1s, but that's a whole different story. That has nothing to do with strategy. So that question of how much, that number. We have basketball slates where 3 guys are like $7,000 underpriced. Like I guarantee you that in order to get to drop ownership from those players, you're going to be giving up $1 million. You're going to have so much projection, it's not going to be worth to fade all 3 of them. Maybe 2 of them. Maybe see if you could build lineups with only 2 of those 3 wildly underpriced players, and see if you could maintain a decent enough projection that you come close to the ones with 3 of them, and see what is that gap. And you judge and you go, okay, I think that gap is worth it. And then now you can build lineups that are close to that gap. You're not going to know how much it's worth it on slates where the pricing is extremely efficient. Like let's say we have a slate, like I bring up basketball because it's so much more linear. If the pricing was perfect, meaning like everyone had the same point per dollar value, like as long as you spend $50,000 in salary, you got the same, like you wouldn't want to sacrifice like any points, right? Any points that you get less in ownership work out for you. Because you're not going to play a lineup that projects 5 points lower, because the difference between the top lineup and the lineup that projects 5 points lower, there's probably like 5,000 lineups in between there, right? So why are you playing the 5,000th best lineup at similar ownership to any of these other ones in the middle? But when you have these outliers, these inefficiently priced players, that's when these gaps get a little bit bigger. Oh, the gap between these types of lineups and those types of lineups is only 100 in between, not 5,000 in between. Oh, let's see. Anything else before we get out of here? Salvatore Mundi, does a player's price even matter when we're thinking about who will score touchdowns? I'm just not going to answer that. I try to teach people. This is why I say. This is why I say if you want to learn actually how to play DFS. Theoryofdfs.com. How to think like a professional DFS player. Game objectives, player selection, expected value, leverage, correlation, construction, risk management, exploits, and psychology. And I don't mind giving away. This gives you the whole edge of playing DFS. Like, do you want to make money playing DFS? This 15-hour audio masterclass will teach you how to make money playing DFS. Like exactly. And you'll go through it and you'll realize that 98% of the questions that you've ever asked are the stupidest things in the world. Okay. That's what you're going to find out. Right. The stuff that I'm showing, you're going to learn more about. Okay. Now, the thing is that I don't mind giving away all of this. Like everything that I went through for this pregame show for the past 3 days, like no one else is going to give you. No one's even going to help you. Right? Because they don't want to make you better. And you know why I do it? Because I know that I look through the YouTube chat and I see some of these questions and I go, yeah, what do I have to worry about? People that are asking some of these questions, they're just never going to get it. They're just, or they're going to try, or they're going to, I'm going to look at the YouTube video and exactly what did you click on? And what were your button? What were my settings? Right? What were my settings? I'm going to play the same settings as that guy. And then they're never going to learn. Just never going to learn. And they'll pay for the book. They'll pay for the audio course. So I'll get money from them that way. But if you go back to all the pregame shows or anything like that, like I answer all of these questions. Okay. So give me those thumbs ups on the way out the door. Hit the subscribe button. If you're new here hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Lamar Jackson returned to practice Friday. Okay, so he should be good. We're gonna get some injury reports today, right? Maybe we'll get some underpriced players based on who's playing and who's not. We'll see. But we'll review everything, right? James McCool will be back on Monday. We'll go over what happened on the NFL Week 3 slate and the strategies of sharp players through Results DB, and continue on. I'm trying to teach you DFS strategy and answer your questions like I normally do, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.